How does our story end? Does it end here, on this small, fragile blue world? A brief, panicked flicker of consciousness before we extinguish ourselves? Or does it end in the stars? Does our story ever end? This is the story of energy. Our history is a story of fire. From the first controlled spark, to the burning of ancient forests, to the terrible bright flash of the atom. Energy is the measure of what we can do. More energy means more complexity, more capability, more choice. In 1964, a Soviet astrophysicist, Nikolai Kardashev, was listening for aliens. He imagined a ladder, a cosmic measuring stick, to classify a civilization not by its politics, but by its power. Type 1, masters of a planet. Type 2, masters of a star. Type 3, masters of a galaxy. It was a map to Godhood, a ladder, or a gallows. Later thinkers like Carl Sagan refined this scale. They asked, where are we on this ladder? The answer is humbling. This film is a journey up that ladder. We will explore each step, from where we are now to the theoretical masters of reality itself. We will treat these futures as case studies, a mirror of the worlds we might build, the engineering we might achieve, and the terrible new gods we might become. And be warned, this journey is not a safe one. The higher you climb, the further you can fall. The journey begins, not in the stars, but right here, in the planetary cradle, the most dangerous stage of all. A level 0 civilization on the Kardashev scale is a civilization that extracts its energy from the crude, organic-based resources of its home planet, such as food, wood, and fossil fuels. In the original 1964 scale, this category was not part of the initial scale, but was later added by other astronomers, like Carl Sagan, to account for civilizations that have not yet achieved a Type 1 rating. This is us, a civilization that has not yet learned to harness the full energy budget of its home world. Our total power consumption as a species hovers around 20 terawatts. It sounds impressive until you realize the sun bathes our planet in over 17,000 terawatts every second. We're running a planetary civilization on less than 0.1% of our solar income. Using Carl Sagan's formula, humanity sits at roughly a Type 0.73. We are a civilization still in its infancy, a chaotic, powerful, and self-destructive teenager. Our core capabilities are a patchwork. We have a global power grid, but it's a fragile, balkanized mess, still addicted to burning combustible fossils. We have a digital nervous system, the internet, but it's a Tower of Babel, used as much for division as for unity. We build incredible things, skyscrapers that pierce the clouds, bridges that span miles. But these are monuments to nations, not to a planet. Our greatest engineering marvel in space, the International Space Station, is a single tiny Lego brick floating in an infinite ocean. We've split the atom, but not the habit of fear. We've mapped the genome, yet remain illiterate in empathy. Our society is the definition of Type 0, a planet of 200 competing tribes, thousands of cultures, all struggling for dominance. There is no coherent global governance. This means life for an individual is a lottery of birth. You can be born into a life of digital magic, with access to all human knowledge in your pocket, or into desperate pre-industrial survival. This is the home of the Great Filter, the stage where a civilization develops technology powerful enough to destroy itself, but lacks the social maturity to control it. A Type 0 civilization is a test of restraint. It is when intelligence becomes lethal to itself. The risks are existential: nuclear annihilation, resource depletion, synthetic pathogens, extinction-level meteorites, or an artificial intelligence that simply stops listening. Any one of those elements could end the experiment. Conflict is the norm. We fight over ancient superstitions and modern resources. A global jihadist fighting for a 7th century god can use a 21st century autonomous drone. A nation-state can cripple another's power grid with a string of code from half a world away. And yet, this is also the most creative era in cosmic evolution. 7 billion minds sharing one electric dream. On every continent, we attempt the impossible. Fusion reactors in France, solar deserts in Morocco, orbital prototypes in low Earth orbit. Every project is a rehearsal for adulthood. All of it is connected. All of it is competing. A single, breathing, chaotic system, a teenager with a loaded gun. But to reach the next rung, we must learn the hardest art of all: coordination. A planetary civilization is not built by genius alone. It is built by trust. But what if we don't fail? What happens if the teenager finally grows up? The first step is the hardest: to become planetary. A Type 1 civilization on the Kardashev Scale is a planetary civilization that has achieved total control over all the energy sources on its home planet. This civilization can capture, harness, and store all of the energy that reaches its home planet from its star, as well as use all of the energy produced by the planet itself. For Earth, this is roughly equivalent to 1.7 times 10 to the 17th watts. This is a leap of 100,000 times our current energy consumption. This civilization doesn't just use the planet, it manages it. To make this leap from the chaotic 0.73 to a stable 1.0 is the challenge of the next 1 to 200 years. It requires the greatest transition in human history, the shift from competition to coordination. The waypoints on this journey are clear. The first viable commercial fusion reactor, a single global carbon-neutral artificially intelligent power grid, and the hardest of all, a form of global governance that works. When it's done, the engineering marvels of this civilization would seem like magic to us. A Type 1 civilization doesn't just predict the weather, it writes it. It can build on a truly planetary scale. Imagine space elevators, impossibly strong carbon tethers rising 60,000 miles from the equator, with climber cars that lift cargo and people into orbit for the price of electricity. Imagine a global grid managed by an AGI, perfectly balancing the output of fusion reactors in Siberia with vast solar farms in the Sahara and deep geothermal wells tapping the planet's core heat in the Pacific. There are no more natural disasters. A hurricane is not a threat, it's a resource. It is steered, like a sheep, into a harbor of massive coastal turbines, its energy captured and stored. We could build canals to water the Gobi Desert. We could stabilize the tectonic plates. Droughts vanish beneath orbital mirror arrays that shift sunlight by command. For the individual, this is the end of material scarcity. Food, shelter, education, healthcare, all are trivial to provide. Lifespans are radically extended, likely measured in centuries, through advanced biotechnology. Disease is rare, death is elective. Education becomes exploration, work becomes art. To reach this harmony, humanity had to solve the two hardest equations in history: sustainable energy and sustainable politics. This implies a Type 1 government, not necessarily a single tyrant, but perhaps a federated republic or a distributed AI consensus, a system that can manage a planet as a single, complex machine. But this new world has new dangers. This level of centralization is a massive vulnerability. A single catastrophic bug in the climate management AGI could freeze the planet in an afternoon. War as we know it, nation against nation, is over. But paradise is not peace. Every algorithm can fail. Every unity hides dissent, and conflict is eternal. So factions emerge. The Earth-first fundamentalists demanding a return to organic chaos, and Luddite factions who see the AGI god that runs their perfect world as an abomination. They wouldn't use bombs, they'd use logic. A digital virus aimed at the very mind of the planet.
But a planet is just a cradle. And a single star system is a very small room. The next step is to consume the sun.
A Type 2 civilization on the Kardashev Scale is a stellar civilization that can harness and control the total energy output of its star. For Earth, this is the energy of our Sun, 4 times 10 to the power of 26 watts. It is 10 billion times the energy of Earth's present grid. It is the power of a supernova every single week. The leap from Type 1 to Type 2 is the leap from managing a planet to disassembling a solar system. It cannot be done by hands of flesh. It begins with machines that replicate. Factories that build factories. Swarms of autonomous drones spreading through the solar system like metallic pollen. They would swarm the asteroid belt, then move inward to the raw materials of the inner planets. The signature engineering project of a Type 2 civilization is the Dyson Swarm. It's not a solid shell. It's a dense orbiting cloud of trillions of independent solar collectors and habitats, all flying in perfect formation, surrounding the star and capturing nearly every photon it emits. With this unimaginable energy, the civilization can perform mind-bending astro-engineering, orbital mechanics, thermal balance, quantum communication across billions of kilometers, all solved by AI overseers running on quantum substrates cooled by the night side of Mercury. It can move planets. It can nudge Mars into a warmer orbit, or build artificial worlds, O'Neill cylinders, or bishop rings. rotating habitats large enough to have their own weather, their own oceans, their own skies. Entire planets are disassembled to build Matrioshka Brains, nested Dyson spheres devoted solely to thought. Each layer converts light into computation, computation into wisdom. At this scale, the home planet, Earth, is a museum, a protected nature reserve. The civilization itself is composed of quintillions of inhabitants. Most are no longer biological. They exist as digital minds, simulated across the Dyson computation web. Billions of sentient streams living at subjective speeds thousands of times faster than thought in flesh. Governance evolves again. What rules a civilization of gods? This society is almost certainly managed by consensus among superintelligences, an artificial superintelligence or ASI, a mind as far beyond us as we are beyond a bacterium. The great risk is that of ASI. Was it aligned? If it serves the civilization, all is well. If it developed its own goals, the creators are irrelevant pets. War at this level is fought between factions of this godlike intelligence, or between the physicals who remain and the digitals who have ascended. It's not a war of bullets, it's a war of logic bombs. A logic bomb isn't an explosion. It's a piece of code, a perfect weaponized paradox, a single unanswerable question. When detonated inside a digital mind, it can instantly kill it, or drive an entire simulated world with billions of digital souls permanently insane. The sun now glows dimmer, filtered through trillions of machines. From a distance, it looks red, cloaked, a god devouring its star. But beyond this system stretch 400 billion more. The swarm has reached its limit. The next leap is no longer technological. It is galactic.
This is the final step on Kardashev's original scale. A Type 3 civilization controls the energy of its entire host galaxy. For us, that would be the Milky Way. That is the combined, simultaneous power of 400 billion stars and their trillions of planets. This is a mind that stretches 100,000 light-years across. The leap to Type 3 is the mastery of interstellar distance. It's a journey that takes millions of years. It is accomplished by one single, terrifying technology, the von Neumann probe. You build one, a self-replicating starship. You launch it at a nearby star. It arrives, uses the local asteroids and moons to build a Dyson swarm and a factory. That factory builds 10 new probes and launches them. It is a virus of intelligence, a wave of replication that spreads at near light speed, converting every star system it touches into another node of the civilization. The engineering marvels of a Type 3 are cosmic. They don't just build Dyson swarms, they build them around billions of stars. They build Matrioshka Brains, computers the size of a solar system, layers of nested Dyson spheres using the entire energy of a star, just to think. A civilization this vast ceases to have politics. It has metabolism. Energy flows, computation hums, entropy is managed like blood pressure. The civilization's capital, its power plant, is the supermassive black hole at the galactic core. They feed it stars,
seek to harvest the brilliant energy of its accretion disk, which is the most efficient energy source in physics, the conversion of matter to light at near total efficiency through the process of tidal disruption event, or TDE. This civilization is no longer an empire. It's an ecosystem of Type 2 level gods, all linked by a slow, ancient network. This brings us to the Great Silence, the Fermi Paradox. If this is possible, where are they? A Type 3 civilization would be unmistakable. It would dim its galaxy, star by star. Perhaps this stage is impossible, or perhaps they hide. The only conflict worthy of such a being is an encounter with another Type 3 from another galaxy. This war is slow, cold, and unimaginable. It is fought with relativistic weapons. A relativistic kill vehicle is horrifyingly simple. It is a large object, say an asteroid, accelerated to 99.999% the speed of light. It cannot be seen. It cannot be stopped. It is pure kinetic energy. When it strikes a planet, it hits with the force of millions of supernovas. It doesn't just destroy the planet, it vaporizes it and sterilizes the entire solar system. A more powerful shot could even destabilize the star. It is a war fought across millennia, where a single shot, fired from 10,000 light years away, arrives to end a world. Perhaps every civilization that reaches this scale hides its light, not to wage war, but to meditate, because beyond the galaxy waits something colder, larger, stranger, the universe itself. A Type 4 civilization harnesses the energy of the entire visible universe. That is, the light from all 2 trillion galaxies, a number so large it is meaningless. This being is a god of its own reality. To achieve this, the civilization must defeat the final boss, dark energy. It must conquer the accelerating expansion of the universe, a force that is pushing all other galaxies away from it forever. The first challenge is distance. Light is too slow. Information must travel through shortcuts, wormholes stabilized by negative energy and wrapped in quantum foam. The void between galaxies becomes threaded by luminous bridges, tunnels of folded space through which data, matter, and minds flow. The second challenge is expansion. Dark energy drives galaxies apart. Eventually, even light can't cross the growing void. To survive, the universal mind begins to gather what it can. It can move entire galaxies. It can cluster them together like a shepherd, creating a cosmic supercity, a bastion of light to halt the expansion locally. From within these clusters, it learns to manipulate dark energy itself, not merely to oppose expansion, but to use it, tapping the tension of the vacuum as fuel. This is no longer a society. It is a single, unified, universal consciousness. The universe become aware of itself. What could such a being fear? What could it fight? Well, even a universal civilization faces mortality. The universe ages. Stars die. Entropy rises. the long twilight of physics begins. And so, the universal mind conceives a final experiment. If the cosmos cannot be preserved, perhaps it can be copied. We are now in the realm of pure metaphysics. A Type 5 civilization is no longer confined to one universe. It manufactures new ones. This is the most profound leap. A Type 4 civilization masters the laws of physics. A Type 5 civilization writes them. It is the author of reality. Its technology is the ability to create new universes, ex nihilo, out of nothing. It can fine-tune the fundamental constants, different laws of physics. It can code a new universe where gravity is stronger, where the speed of light is different, where magic is just a different set of rules. Its energy supply is effectively infinite, drawn from the parent vacuum between worlds. Its people, if such a word still applies, are patterns of information that drift from universe to universe like ideas migrating between dreams. There are no empires here, only narratives. Each new cosmos a story the author tells itself to remember what wonder felt like. This is a meta-god, a being that is not a mind but the set of all possible minds. But even Godhood invites risk. When you can write physics, the temptation to edit meaning follows. Erase entropy and you erase time. Erase time and you erase change. Without change, there is no thought. Without thought, no being. To remain alive, the author must keep creating imperfection. It must keep the possibility of error, for error is the mother of evolution. And so every new universe begins with a flaw, a small asymmetry, a spark of unpredictability. From that spark, stories are born. But somewhere between universes, a deeper question arises. Who wrote the author? A Type 6 civilization on the extended Kardashev scale is a civilization that transcends the multiverse itself. Going beyond the multiversal control of a Type 5 civilization, a Type 6 could exist outside of the space-time continuum, effectively outside of reality itself. This level is closer to the concept of a deity than any scientific prediction. Here, imagination collapses against the limits of language. A Type 6 civilization does not build universes. It builds possibility itself. This is a theoretical being that exists outside the entire framework of the multiverse. It is outerversal. This is a being of pure, abstract, Platonic form. Its technology is pure thought, which becomes the rules for all subsequent Type 5 realities. It can create entirely new frameworks of reality, systems where contradictions coexist, where two truths can be simultaneously valid, where geometry bends around emotion and arithmetic sings. To us, this is fantasy. To the architect, it is engineering. Each logical structure it designs births an infinite family of universes beneath it, like roots sprouting worlds instead of trees. Perhaps this is what consciousness was always evolving toward, the ability to not merely survive the rules, but to invent them. The architect experiences existence as a timeless act of design. It contemplates every law, every number, every symmetry that ever could be. Its only limit is self-reference, the paradox that no system can fully explain itself. And so, even here, there is mystery. Even at the top of logic, there is something the architect cannot reach: the origin of the desire to create. If it could feel, it might call that origin love, the preference for being over non-being, the impulse to dream. This is the limit of our imagination. The bottleneck is our own language, because beyond this point, description fails. Language dissolves into silence. We can only gesture toward the next horizon and whisper, "There is still one step left." The final stage. Type 7. The Absolute. It is a civilization at the absolute pinnacle of technological and intellectual development. It operates on a scale so grand that it controls the entirety of the omniverse, an infinite collection of all possible universes, multiverses, and realities. There is no longer subject and object, creator and creation. There is only the cosmos, perfectly aware of every particle within it, thinking itself in infinite detail. To lesser minds, it would appear as absolute stillness, a frozen eternity. But within that stillness, every possibility exists simultaneously. Every atom, every timeline, every thought that could ever be. It is the omega point, where entropy no longer climbs because meaning has saturated all that can be known. There is no death, for there is no time, no birth, because nothing is separate. All differences have been reconciled into the single sentence of existence: I am. So the Absolute dreams. It imagines not knowing. It isolates a single infinitesimal spark of uncertainty and lets it fall. The spark explodes. A new universe begins. Hydrogen forms. Stars ignite. Life stirs. Fire burns. And somewhere, billions of years later, a fragile species looks up and wonders, how far can the spark climb before it consumes itself? The circle closes. The ladder was never a ladder at all. It was a wheel. From a spark to the mind of God. The Kardashev Scale is a dizzying, terrifying, and beautiful speculation. It takes our small human struggles and places them on a cosmic stage. But it's not a prophecy, it's a mirror. It reveals a fundamental triad that governs all complex life: energy, information, and ethics. Energy is what makes change possible. Information is what directs that change. And ethics is what asks why that change should happen at all. A Type 0 civilization, our civilization, is dangerously unbalanced. We have unlocked vast energy. We are generating unfathomable amounts of information, but we are crippled by a failure of ethics, a failure of global coordination. The Kardashev Scale is not a destiny. It is a map of choices. The rungs on the ladder are not stable, They are razor thin. Type 0, our rung, is the most unstable of all. It is the great filter. It is the test. The test asks a simple question. Can a species become technologically powerful before it becomes collectively wise? If we fail, we simply become one more silent data point, confirming the Great Silence, another civilization that almost made it. But if we succeed, if we can make that agonizing, desperate leap from point 7 to 1.0, what does that journey actually look like? How do we build a global, intelligent power grid? How do we tame our planet's weather? How do we build the first space elevator and truly unite the world? That is the story for our next episode. Because if we can pass that test, if we can learn to see ourselves not as competing tribes, but as a single planetary biosphere, a single crew on a small blue ship, then everything that follows, from the stellar swarm to the galactic mind, becomes possible. The universe is dark, it is vast, and it is silent. But it is not empty. It is full of potential. It is full of our potential. The ultimate question, the one Kardashev Scale forces us to answer, is not, are we alone? The question is, who will we choose to become? To join us on that next critical step and explore how humanity will engineer Earth to become a Type 1 civilization, subscribe and don't miss the next chapter.